Hey folks, it's Sam once again, and welcome back to another video. And this time I am reviewing Class of 1984. This is a Blu-ray sent to me by my good friend Efree, and he was curious to hear my thoughts on the film. I thought the least I can do since he sent me again this Blu-ray, which is with a great cover. I think Stream Factory, this is a pretty awesome cover. On the other side, I mean, it's pretty much just a picture of the kind of like the kids. It's the original cover. I like the Scream Factory one better. And then even the disc has a scene from the film where Roddy McDowall teaches class via gunpoint. Now, real quickly, the Blu-ray was pretty decent. I liked the Blu-ray. I mean, it looked, the film looked great. I didn't really care for the commentary by Mark L. Lester, but it had some good interviews. Had a new interview with Mark L. Lester, and then the Lalo Schifrin who did the music. Lalo Schifrin, I mean, I could barely understand what the hell he was saying, to be honest. But Mark L. Lester has some interesting thoughts. For example, the release of the film, and one time it was going to be a double bill between this and Death Wish 2. This is when he was trying to sell the movie, and they wanted to test it out, so let's premiere it, have a test at a double bill of this and Death Wish 2. And when he got there was this and Porky's. So Porky's was first. Although his interview was weird when saying that apparently a bunch of 12-year-old girls was there, a girl night with their parents, and I'm like, would 12-year-old girls watch Porky's? I mean, do any girls watch Porky's? I thought that was like a guy's movie. Why would a girl watch Porky's? That's just weird to me. But especially 12-year-old girls with their moms. But that's what he said. And then when this came up, parents were coming up to him, or moms were coming up to him, they were complaining about the nudity. And I'm like, the nudity? What do you think Porky's is? Porky's has nudity. I mean, again, a bunch of 12-year-olds who brought their moms for a party at Porky's. I mean, I guess that was the 80s. The early 80s, 82. But then about how he got the film released and being inspired by films like Blackboard Jungle and some of those films, a little bit of Clockwork Orange, which is a favorite film of his, and how when he was going to school, things were more proper than when we went back. There were gang members. He's like, wow, this could be interesting point for a movie. Now, there are technically sequels to this. There was Class of 1999, which I'm not going to review again because I just reviewed that not that long ago, but I love that movie, and I'll put the review down below for those who haven't seen it. But I love Class of 1999, which was also directed by Mark L. Lester. It's only a sequel in name only, and because it's the same director, but like none of the characters come back, and that's more science fiction and cyborg teachers, and kind of reverse where the teachers are the bad guys and the kids are the good guys. And again, more sci-fi. But I love Class of 1999. The sequel with Sasha Mitchell, where he thinks he's a cyborg teacher, but he's not. He's just a fucked up guy. I thought that sequel sucked ass. But I have so much other stuff on my plate. I'm not going to watch them anytime soon. And plus, they don't really connect to this other than the title. So, it doesn't really fit. And again, I already reviewed Class of 1999, and I love that movie. But you also have a pretty lengthy, good interview with the star Perry Teen. He talks about a few of the films he's been in, like Mandingo, Lords of Flatbush. Has some nice stuff to say about Stallone, about how he's not a guy you would expect, and he got this script about Edgar Allan Poe. He's like, wow, this guy is a lot more bright and smart than I would have pictured him. And he said a lot of nice things about Stallone, and some thoughts about working on Lords of Flatbush and other films throughout his career. Closing with this one, really good, lengthy. I would like to see more of those sort of take an actor and ask about a bunch of his movies. I liked that. Then you have a featurette from back in the day called Blood and Blackboards. This was on the older DVD where you had interviews with Mark L. Lester, Perry Teen, and I think the producer slash actress Merrie Lynn Ross, who played Perry Teen's wife. And yeah, she was the executive producer with Mark L. Lester. and that was like 35 minutes. I mean, that alone was good back in the day, but now you got... Oh, and then you also have interviews with two of the actresses, Lisa Langlois and Erin Noble. I thought they were okay. No, a friend of mine didn't care for them, but I thought they were okay for what they were. Pretty good features. And you have TV spots, theatrical trailer, still gallery. So yeah. And great cover, great picture. So really glad to have this as a gift. And because I enjoy this film, I can't remember when I first saw this. I believe it was on cable, but I remember just when I saw it, really enjoyed it. I still do to this day. And like I said, it stars Perry King. You also have Roddy McDowall, who's greatly missed, of course, from Fright Night, Planet of the Apes films. Michael J. Fox has a little tiny supporting role. It's one of his first roles as a student who later on gets... this is all... Again, every review I do, folks, is a spoiler. He gets stabbed, but he doesn't die. And Alice Cooper did the main theme song, which I love. Take a look at my face. I am the future. Dun, 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 dun. Take a look at my face. We belong to the future. Great song. Love that song very much. And, of course, Mark L. Lester would go on to direct Commando, which I love. Showdown in Little Tokyo, which I love. Class of 1999, I mentioned. I enjoyed Class of 1999. Nowadays, he directs like some shitty sci-fi channel movies, and which is pretty sad. Because, again, he's directed some pretty damn good films, but either he can't get work, or the way movies changed are for the worse, which I believe in. But back in the day, man, he was such a great director. I mean, this, Commando, Showdown in Little Tokyo, Class of 1999. And what's interesting watching this again, I mean, it starts out with a text saying, very few schools are like Lincoln High yet. And it was a warning to people saying, hey, watch your schools. Watch these kids. Because if you don't, it's going to become this. And back in 1982, people were like, yeah, right. That's science fiction. Come on, metal detectors at schools. People stabbing kids and killing kids at school. And, teachers getting into fights with students. And come on, metal detectors and weapons at school. And wow, this is so far-fetched. This is so science fiction. Whatever. This is just exploitation. It's whatever. And lo and behold, you have not only guns, you have people worried about bombs going into schools. You do have metal detectors. You have people being watched almost as if it's a prison. People are scared to go to school. You have Columbine and shooting after shooting after shooting in school after school after school. And so when you watch this film today, it's pretty prophetic. It was definitely a prophecy that wasn't heard. So you look at on that level, you go, wow, this is pretty almost like a documentary now. Then, nothing fantastical about it in a way. And even other movies after this. I mean, you had the Substitute films, which I like those films. I probably am a fan more of Treat Williams flicks than Tom Berenger, but I like all the films. They're all 4 Substitute movies. You had The Principal with James Belushi and Louis Gossett Jr. I enjoy that movie. You had Dangerous Minds, which the only thing I can remember is Michelle Pfeiffer was in it, and it had the song Gangsta's Paradise. I remember not caring for the film itself, though. Yeah, that movie 187 with Samuel Jackson, which I thought was a piece of shit. So yeah, you had a lot of movies were influenced by this, even if they don't want to admit it. And yeah, fortunately, society sort of became Class of 1984. Its vision of a detained, violent-plagued inner-city school seemed over the top in '82, as Sally prophesied the future of American education. Yeah, with an original story and screenplay co-written by genre veteran Tom Holland, had a hand in writing this. Of course, he directed Fright Night and Child's Play, wrote Psycho 2. So you get a lot of good people involved with this. And I mean, even talking to the film, I mean, Perry Keene does a great job as a teacher. He's a replacement musical teacher. And he's a guy who has a woman who's pregnant, and he's a nice guy, and he's optimistic, and he's a peaceful guy. Believes in right and wrong. Perry Keene does a great job in this role. Roddy McDowall is a fellow teacher who carries a gun in a suitcase, and when Perry Keene asks him, "What do you need the gun for?" and Roddy goes, "You'll learn. You're new at this school." And they're all metal detectors. Roddy McDowall is great. I mean, Perry Keene tells him, "That guy passed a straight razor," and Roddy goes, "No shit." I'll get more into Roddy McDowall, but he does a great job as a fellow teacher, biology teacher. And Perry Keene gets into class and trying to ease the disruption in the class, and you have the villain, Timothy Van Patten, and his cronies. Great job on this game. Timothy Van Patten did an excellent job as the lead member of the game. He was believable when he needed to be a villain. Sit on this, motherfucker. But then there's more to the villain than you thought, because there's a scene where he's playing crazy on the piano, and then Perry Keene's like, "Tell him, get out of here." But then, next scene, he's playing piano beautifully. Wonderfully. And it's like, well, wait a minute, this guy you think is a punk gang member, but he's playing the piano beautifully. He's like, well, do I get the gig or not? And when Perry Keene says no, there's a part of me I looked at his face and I'm like, was Timothy Van Patten, is he really sad that he didn't get the gig? Like, this little thing in his eyes. Like, there's more going into it than a one-dimensional villain. It's not a one-dimensional villain. There's a lot more going into this character. And, like, he has a mom who has this, nice place, and there's the sparkle in his mom's eye, because there's a scene where Perry Keene tries to confront the mother, and she's like, "Oh, you're picking on my son. He's a good boy." And again, he's sparkle in his mom's eye, which is very believable that would happen. And just some interesting stuff put in there. And of course, the sequence where they have a conversation in the bathroom, and Timothy Van Patten, "Oh, what, you don't do this?" and slams his head up against the mirror, and then slams it against the place where you get the paper towels, and keeps slamming his head. And Perry Keene stops him, like, "What are you doing?" And he puts blood on Perry Keene's hands, and security comes in, and then he blames it on him. So it's a smart villain, too. It's a smart, clever villain. And it's a villain you love to hate. But very well done acting performance by him. Very smart villain. Gets Perry Keene up on assault charges because of that. And again, very smart villain. I'm like, wow, this is really well done. It really is. And they just keep fucking with the teacher. Earlier, they blast stage blood on his face while he's at his home. A friend of Michael J. Fox buys drugs, and he goes out of his mind, climbs a flagpole, and falls down. And the teacher, Perry Keene, trying to get Michael J. Fox to talk, but he won't, which leads to the members chasing Michael J. Fox, and Perry Keene, Roddy McDowall try to help, which leads to again, you really hate these villains. Roddy McDowall goes into his class, and all of his animals are killed and skinned, and a cat is hung, and it's one of those things that it's just vile. And Roddy's performance is just excellent, just the shock and being numb. Then later on, where he's talking with Perry Keene, he's like, I wish I could have taught somebody one thing. I'm a failure as a teacher. And just, Roddy does a great job. And which leads to the breaking point where, again, you have a scene where he's teaching a class via gunpoint. He's talking to the game members and says, you can't afford to fail this class. You can't afford to get this answer wrong. So just a great sequence. And like I said, Michael J. Fox, his character gets stabbed because they think he talked, but he didn't, and he's still alive. He's in the hospital. Roddy ultimately gets himself killed. Then later on, his woman gets raped, and he's at his concert. And it gets to the finale where they have his woman, and throughout the whole film, you just hate these people. You hate what these people are. You hate what they've done. And you want this guy, because he's such a good guy, to get revenge, and he does. And he gets revenge of them very well. I mean, even, his friend is dead, Michael J. Fox got stabbed, his woman's been raped, and I don't even know what happened to the baby because she's pregnant, and I guess they never went into that. But he chases them, they beat him up, and then this is when the revenge aspect comes in. It's really satisfying. I mean, he fights one and cuts one's arm off with a saw, and then pushes his back onto it. Another, he's fighting a guy, this big guy, who I don't think is no longer with us. Right there, right there. Which is actually, if you remember Meatballs, the guy who has the hot dog contest, and also the guy in the original My Bloody Valentine. I think he gets the nail gun to the face. That's that guy. He's like, Perry Keene's beating him on the head, and then the woman, Punker, is driving. He gets out of the way, and the car, it's in an auto shop, and a car falls down on the big guy, and the girl gets fucked up in the car. Before that, he lights a guy on fire, gets in a fisticuff with the main guy, punches him through the skylight. And then, of course, the ending was changed where there's this little sort of stare down, and Timothy Van Patten's character kills himself. But people like, not only people, but a guy, Mark L. Lester, showed it to. He's like, oh, you messed it up. You messed it up. He's got to kill the guy. So when Timothy Van Patten tries to cut him, Perry Keene comes back, and he literally punches through the camera, punches the guy, so he falls down and gets hung and goes to his death. I mean, the setting of the school in this day and age, I mean, this came out in 1982, so it was not a normal thing at that time. But it got copied a lot afterward, even if they don't want to admit it. Great atmosphere, setting. Again, Perry Keene is very likable as the teacher. You really hate these kids. And then when he gets his revenge on them, it's satisfying. Well done acting from Perry Keene, Roddy McDowall, Timothy Van Patten. Cool to see Michael J. Fox in an early role. Great song that begins and ends the movie, I Am the Future by Alice Cooper. Satisfying. It was a satisfying revenge movie, but you could also look at it as, a prophecy that came true for the American education system. So however you look at it, it's a damn good movie. It's a damn good film. And it's well worth a look. If you're a fan of Mark L. Lester's films, I mean, later on he would direct action films, and so it's not quite like this. But still, it's a damn good movie. I don't know, I guess if you've only seen films like The Substitute Films, or The Principal, or Dangerous Minds, or that stuff, Give this film a look. It's really well worth it. Class 1984. It's a damn good movie. But either way, thanks for watching. Take care, and we'll see you later.